And good afternoon everybody. Today is the 16th of June 2012 and I'm here to review the latest chapter, chapter 7 of obviously Smallville, season 11 of Guardian. Okay, I was a bit disappointed with this one. Not as good as the last three that we've had, which have been so awesome, by the way. So this one takes after the events of when the Guardian platform project that Lex has devised. The spaceship obviously blew up. We found out that it wasn't an accident, it was done on purpose, and it appeared that Lex was behind the explosion. But the chapter itself kicks off with Chloe and Oliver both searching through the field for where this spacecraft had landed. If you remember from, like, I think chapter 2 and 3 was where we saw a mysterious ship, and then I think in the back end of chapter 6, or even no, chapter 4 rather, I think, or 5, I think it was 5, I get mixed up, but I think the back end of 5 was where, just as the spaceship exploded, a figure was standing on the very last page saying that this is a job for Superman, kind of thing. So as I say, we've got Oliver and Chloe out in the field searching for this ship, and they're having a little couple conversation between them. What is very interesting is that the ship that they find, well, it's not alien as such. They even reminisce about past Kryptonians that have visited Earth, particularly you remember those two characters. I can't remember what the female's name is, but I think the bloke's name was Namek, wasn't it? Yeah. And then obviously Doomsday and Brainiac as well in there. So they're reminiscing about the past Kryptonians and evil people that have arrived, as opposed to Clark and Martian Manhunter being the only two friendly aliens that they've come across. So yeah, as I say, that goes on, and then we move on to the next part. What have we got here? We're at Star Labs, and Lois is visiting Dr. Hamilton to see Commander Henshaw, see how he's doing. And he's in a we'd say a catatonic state, but at the same time he's not in a coma. He's somehow alive, but just trapped somewhere inside himself, kind of thing, as Emil says to Lois. Mrs. Henshaw, the commander's wife, is visiting, and she pretty much blames Superman for not saving Henshaw's life. But what Lois is trying to do is trying to comfort Mrs. Henshaw and tell her, look, Superman did everything he could, but it was under Henshaw's request that he freed everybody else while he takes the ship into orbit because of the radiation leak. But she just wouldn't believe it. She as far as she's concerned, Superman's fault. It's his fault that Hank is in that condition. And then we get to LexCorp. Lex gets a visit from Superman. Now, this is where it got a bit confusing for me, because I'm reading it and I'm thinking, okay, so it looks like a couple of the pages have been mixed up, and the dialogue doesn't look that, it doesn't seem that clear as well. Yeah, it just, yeah, that was what was slightly disappointing. I mean, I was sort of confused. I was like, right, okay, first Superman smashes the glass, next thing you know, we've got Lex drinking, and he's saying, oh, Superman, I presume, because he's knocking on the window, and then there's a figure of Superman in the window. I mean, I'll show you, right? This is pretty much what we should have seen first. Okay, what we saw instead was that. So that was the first thing that came on from, and this was titled as page 16. Okay, and then you go on to 17, and Superman standing over Lex, which is there. Okay, we get on to 17. Actually, no, that's 17. Wait, well, yeah, still part of 17 anyway. And 16. So it's just, yeah, very confusing. And there's a section where it says, please, anyone who blows out my eardrums gets to call Lex. I think it was meant to say gets to call me Lex. So again, as I say, the writing was a bit poor there. So anyway, Superman obviously has a go at Lex about the explosion on the ship. He then realizes that he's actually been trapped in some ways. Lex is feeling all smug about Superman being in his presence, and he pretty much has the army in the background of his office. As you can see here, show you the helicopters have arrived. So he starts going through about the appearances that Superman has made, first on the Russian space station, then on the space shuttle that catches fire. Apparently they both had explosions, and then suddenly he's at Lex's office and he's caused a break-in, sort of, he's broken a window, and he's pretty much blaming, it's just like Lex is blaming Superman for the accident on the space shuttle, the accident on the Russian space station, and he's basically saying, I'd say the army has every right to be nervous, wouldn't you? And what is also interesting, I've quickly got to go back to something as well, because obviously we know that Lex does not remember, him and Clark ever meeting, but there's a section where he says it here. He says, "Never seen a stranger get that mad that fast. You sure we haven't met before?" So obviously Clark knows what Lex is like. Lex has no idea who Superman really is, kind of thing. So it just really does give you that insight that even though Superman is well aware of what Lex is capable of, Lex is going to do everything in his power to make him see like he's the bad person, and he's pretty much done that. But the last page is quite interesting, as he says it there. This is the part where you run. Let's get a good close up. Don't know if you can see it properly, but that's pretty much what it says there, and it says to be continued. So again, not too bad, as I say, but not as good as the last three that we've had. So we'll see how it picks up next week. But as we all know, obviously the news earlier this week was that Batman is coming to Smallville in September, and he's going to be partnered with Nightwing as well, aka Stephanie Brown, which I'm very, very intrigued about, and it'd be interesting to see how Brian is going to bring Stephanie into this universe of Smallville, because obviously he wrote the last series of Batgirl, and Batgirl was Stephanie Brown at the time. So I think Brian has a very good close connection with Stephanie, which is why he's keen, or was very happy to have her on board, but this time as Nightwing as opposed to Robin, because everybody remembers that she's also been Robin in past comics, and also another character known as Spoiler that she once portrayed as well. So she was Spoiler, she was Robin, she was then Batgirl, and now she's going to be Nightwing. So Brian is going to eventually let us know how she becomes Nightwing instead of Robin, kind of thing. So it's a whole separate universe, people, just remember that, and separate continuity to the new 52 that we already have. But as I say, it'll be interesting to see how that unfolds when September arrives. Anyway, that's it from me. As I say, let me know what you thought of this particular chapter. As I say, apart from mix up the pages and a slight mismatch of words, it wasn't too bad, but it could have been better. Anyway, that's it from me. I'll speak to you all later. Bye.